It is now 6:35. I'm going to call this meeting of the Lawndale City Council to order. Madam City Clerk, please conduct the roll call, please.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman-Gorman. Here. Councilmember Cuevas.
Here.
Councilmember Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Mayor Pullen Miles.
Here.
All members are present.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. The next item on our agenda is our ceremonial portion. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Suarez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and Pastor Dwight Dudley from the Calvary Chapel of South Bay will lead us in the word of inspiration.
Please stand with your flag. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing.
I want to share just a couple words of the Lord out of the book of 1 Timothy. And this is what the Lord says. He says, I exhort thee, therefore, that first of all, supplications and prayers and intercessions and giving thanks be made for all men. I love that because I know that that's what this council is all about, all men and women, regardless of where you're from and where you were raised, all men, all women. For the kings and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceful life in all godliness and honesty. For this is good and acceptable in the sight of God, our Savior. Father, we thank you that you have blessed us with this council, both men and women, Father, who love you, who love people, and who love this country. Father, as we just pledge the flag as a veteran, that just brings joy to my heart to know that this city loves this great nation. And I pray, Father, that you lead and guide them, Father, in their decisions that you would give to them and pass on to them good wisdom. And Father, your vision of what you see for this city, how you plan, Father, for this business to be conducted here. I pray for each of the council members that you strengthen, bless them, encourage them. And Father, help them to stand firm in what's right and what's wrong. Bless them, help them in every decision they make. Ordain it and guide them by your spirit of truth. And we thank you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you guys.
Thank you, Pastor Dooley, for those words of inspiration. We look forward to visiting us again. Thank you, sir. Okay, let's have our public safety report. Let's welcome our, okay. I was going to welcome my lieutenant, but welcome both of you. Come on up.
I brought backup tonight.
All right, brought some backup? Okay, very
So
good.
the captain wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'll deliver the public safety report. So good evening, Mr. Mayor and the members of the City Council. I'm here tonight to present the public safety report for April 19th through May 2nd. On April 21st at approximately 12:30 a.m., Deputy Dominguez responded to the 4100 block of Manhattan Beach Boulevard for a vehicle versus pedestrian traffic accident. The pedestrian was pronounced deceased at Harbor Memorial Hospital. Detective Garcia and Sergeant Osborne responded to the scene. With evidence collected at the scene and information from Deputy Dominguez, the suspect was identified. At approximately 10 a.m., the suspect was arrested at her home located in the city of Lawndale. The pedestrian was a homeless person and has not yet been identified. The suspect was booked at South LA Station for hit and run causing death. She posted a $50,000 bond and was released from the custody the following day. On April 27th at approximately 9:40 a.m., Deputy Hilliard, while working at the Lawndale High School, he responded to the school office regarding a student being assaulted. He later determined that a male Hispanic 17-year-old student was assaulted by another student, male black 16. During the assault, the subject attempted to take the victim's money while punching him in the head. The subject was detained for attempted robbery and transported to East Lake Juvenile Hall. The same day, on April 27th, at about 5 a.m., Deputies Lumpings and Gonzalez responded to 15626 Hawthorne Boulevard, Estrella Motors, regarding a burglary in progress call. 3 suspects broke into the business and stole a car from the lot. A containment was established with the assistance of K-9 and Arrow, and a suspect was detained. The stolen vehicle was recovered at the scene along with additional evidence. He was arrested for burglary, grand theft auto, and vandalism, and he was booked at South LA Station. This concludes my report, and I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Okay, are there any questions of the safety report, public safety report?
Okay, and with that, I'll introduce Lieutenant Glenn Emery, who will introduce himself to the
Yes.
council.
Yeah, welcome, Lieutenant Emery.
Honorable Mayor, Councilman, pleasure to meet you guys. Glenn Emery, newly assigned to you guys part-time, still a watch commander in South LA. Just a little about myself, I've been on almost 34 years. Started out in 1988 after 4 years in the Marine Corps. Worked Central Jail, Firestone, the old Firestone Walnut Park Station. From there, Linwood Station, when it merged with Firestone Station, then Century Station, the patrol deputy, Lakewood Station, the training officer. Then in 1996, I transferred over to our Special Enforcement Bureau. So I was a K-9 handler with SWAT K-9 for 14 years. 1996, 1996, 2010, I promoted to sergeant, worked patrol at Norwalk Sheriff Station, which includes the Norwalk City, La Mirada, County of Whittier. After that, I went to Narcotics Bureau as a K-9 sergeant, providing narcotics K-9 detection investigations throughout the county, from Palmdale to Lawndale, and east and west, if you will. After that, I actually, the former sheriff, I was part of security detail. So I got, again, countywide, complex cities. I wasn't part of the process, but just getting them to and fro. So I got kind of first-hand knowledge how it works, what have you. After that, went back to narcotics, Century, Linwood, Century, Compton Station, then Central Region, which is Industry Station, Walnut Station, San Dimas Station, everything in between. 2 years ago, I got fortunate, did well in his lieutenant's test, promoted to lieutenant. I was assigned South LA Station, Lawndale Station. So I've been technically your watch commander on my shift for the last 2 years. So I'm very familiar with your deputies. Actually, your deputies are young, but I know them when they were getting off training, going through. I know them professionally, intimately. They're good workers, hard workers. They're doing the right thing. And again, I'm very familiar with the city. Honored to be here. I know there's a concern about Cali converter thefts. Actually talked to the detective sergeant who's our theft detective sergeant for all the thefts that happen in Lawndale, South LA, all the surrounding areas for us. And apparently there's been, what he told me earlier today, I just checked with him, kind of get my facts together. This is my first time with you guys. He basically said there's been about 5 to 8 Cali converter thefts in the city of Lawndale. The issue we're having is solving the cases for him. And my idea is maybe next council meeting or after, bring him here and give you guys firsthand knowledge how they're trying to solve it. And what they're doing, the issue that we're having, or they're having, our detectives, is witnesses was 1. 2 is there's no identifiable things, VIN numbers, license plate numbers etched on the Cali converters. There's video evidence that they're collecting from homes, businesses. However, the issue is the poor quality. It's very grainy because of COVID. They're wearing masks, etc. So it's hard for them to get a conviction. However, what I learned today was that there has been arrests around Lawndale, around here, during traffic stops with people with Cali converters, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they're being arrested under what's called reasonable cause arrest. They can't, obviously they're sawed off, but the only issue is they're not copping out, 1, and 2, there's no identifiable markings on them. So they're actually filing the cases, but they go to the district attorney and they're getting kicked back. There's no evidence to convict these folks. And the catalytic converters, he was telling me, is between $1,500 to $3,000 on open market. So what he's telling me is that we're working on it, bringing a proposal to you guys, possibly an etching program, if we could. I know some agencies are doing it in surrounding communities. They're hiring companies. I think we had a couple in the sheriff's department, but I'm not sure how the logistics works right now, how they got them, who paid for it, et cetera, et cetera. And the issues we're having is when the folks come in to get their catalytic converters etched, they're waiting in line. The delay is, the cars are running. By the time they get to the line, the engine's hot, catalytic converters are hot. So you have to wait to cool it down, et cetera, et cetera. So my first thought was, I talked to Sergeant Gutierrez. I asked him, I go, hey, next time we're invited to come before you folks, just bring him up here and actually have him talk to you directly and run some ideas back and forth to see how we can do our part for the city. Like I said, very familiar with the city, happy to be here. I'll do what I can for you. I'll give you guys my card, my phone number. I'm still a watch commander in South LA. However, whatever I can do for you, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm here to back up Sergeant Osborne and you folks, if you need, whatever you guys need. We'll do our best. Any issues that come up, we'll deal with it and try to fix it.
Okay.
If you have any questions for me, please throw it at me. I'll try to answer as best I can.
Okay, we have about 10 for you. We'll
Sure,
start
yeah.
we'll start with Mayor Pro
I've been
Tem
around 30
Hoffman.
years, sir.
She's going to kick it off. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the information, number one. And I would love to have one of those clinics here in Lawndale for catalytic converter etching. I think that the citizens of Lawndale would appreciate and would come out for such a thing. The other thing I would ask is, do you think at a future date, one of the questions I get asked quite a bit, is there a particular car or makes of cars that are getting hit more often than other? I'm to understand that evidently if they're higher off the ground, they're easier and quicker for them to get to, but are we seeing, similarities across the board?
My understanding is the newer model cars are a little more, because the catalytic converters has got, I think he gave me the exact terminology. It was, excuse me one second, I'll tell you exactly. It's the precious metals in the that's the word I was looking for. It's the precious metals in the catalytic. It's not the aluminum or what have you. It's the precious metals within the system, as far as how. And the newer model vehicles are obviously it's newer. It's not the 1989 Honda Accord that's usually gets stolen, but this is just the precious metals within the catalytic converter. And like I said, I did a little homework with the sergeant detective that handles our thefts. Kind of see where we're at as far as the station for the city of Lawndale. And that's the information I got. Again, like I said, next time we get together, I'll bring him with me. He'll be able to give you a little more precise details. If I do a little more work, I probably answer you a little bit better. But my understanding is the precious metals in it. And again, it goes between $1,500 to $3,000 per catalytic converter in the open market.
Well, I would just like to say thank you and welcome to the city of Lawndale. I intend to use every minute of our time that's allotted with you, but thank you, and I look forward to working with you.
Any other questions? Lieutenant Emery, first of all, welcome to Lawndale as well. Going back on the etching, so on the VINs cars, so we have the VIN number. I know those are unique to that particular car, and I know the ideal of the etching. I'm wondering how reliable is the etching? I mean, if you have a VIN, you can rely that that's signed to that engine, to that car. How reliable is the etching in terms of proving
Right.
that?
The VIN, the importance, but just real quick, the importance of the VIN number, if the VIN number obviously to an individual car.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, that VIN number, that car is registered to a person that's got valid registration, et cetera, valid home address.
Yeah.
That's the connection. So say somebody buys a vehicle, they never register it, et cetera, and there's a VIN number. But having the VIN number etched gives us our probable cause to arrest this person and gives our detectives time to investigate further. That's why it's the importance, in my opinion, again, almost 34 years experience, is that VIN number has got to match a particular person to have a victim to make it a convictable crime. But all this RC, reasonable cause of arrest, our deputies are doing in Lawndale, they're arresting people for catalytic converters daily, like I said, 5 to 8 to 10 a week. And the issue, like I said, was that there's no nexus to a victim. You got to have a victim, so they're going to reasonable. The legal terminology of the city attorney, you can respond. Reasonable cause is, as a peace officer, if you have a reasonable cause that this person has 3 sawed-off catalytic converters, they can't explain where they got them. 9 times out of 10, they say, oh, I don't know, they were in the back seat. So it gives us probable cause to arrest them, investigate it, unless they cop out to it. Our detectives are going through the process, going to the court, the district attorney to file it, but it's it's
So
not
the
going
itching is the VIN number.
Etching could be a VIN number.
What's gonna be-
It could
yeah.
be a license plate number.
The department has a standard. I've done this
Okay.
for the city
Yeah,
of
go ahead,
Linwood.
please.
Okay.
So I've actually done one of these events.
That's what I'm wondering, what are you etching?
So there's a
on
standard now because it started and everybody was kind of doing their own thing. So to keep everything standard, the last 6 digits on your VIN will tell us the make, model, and color of your vehicle.
there? Okay.
Don't matter if it's registered, not registered, those last 6 numbers. So we could run those numbers. So what we did in Linwood was we set up a day and we set up like a reservation system. And we had you had to be a Linwood, which would be a Lawndale resident. You had to live in Lawndale, car registered to Lawndale. And you would make appointments. That way we don't have the delay. And we got our local tow trucks. And me and Mr. Reyes and Mr. Moore have been speaking about this the last couple of weeks, trying to get the logistics together because you need a big empty area. So we need like either Lusinger High School, Lawndale High School. We use Linwood High. So you get the citizens to sign up ahead of time. So you give them slots, 9 a.m., 9:20, 9:40, all day long. The issue becomes who does the etching. Some cities, they could get their public works to do it. Some public works won't do it. Since we were blessed, some deputies volunteered to actually go under the car and etch them. Some deputies will do it, some deputies don't. The tow trucks, that's easy. So basically people show up, they sign a waiver saying they release, person from liability. I could get the waiver from Linwood, give it to the city attorney, he could make sure it dials in. They pull up, they get out the vehicle, they wait to the side, the car's lifted, person rolls underneath it, scratch the last 6 of the VIN, car goes back down, they drive off. It takes 6 to 7 minutes a car. We did 87 cars in a day.
Okay.
So what that helps is when you do stop that person and they have those catalytic converters, we actually could run them, and at least we have someone to contact to say, did the catalytic converter get stolen, Mr. Miles?
Oh, got
Do
it.
you know Mr. Osborne? Should he have had it? And that gives the detective somewhere to go. So we've been working on it, but it's a lot of logistics to get it set up.
Okay.
It can be
Got it.
done. It can be done. It's just a matter of just collectively getting together and doing it. And offering
Okay.
it to the citizens and go
All
from
right.
there.
Very good. Thank you for that report, and thank you for the program and bringing the program to City of Lawndale. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. All right. We're going to move our agenda. We're now on oral communications. This is when you have the opportunity to address this body on items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to address this body, we ask that you line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, please come to the podium. If you would start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2.5 minutes, the amber light will come on to give you the signal to start wrapping things up. At about a second before your last minute, the city clerk will give you the eye to tell you to really wrap it up. She needs both her eyes, so we don't want that to happen. Go ahead.
All right. Gary Adams, I want to address the continuing ongoing noncompliance by RJs. Their first original due date was a week ago today. They did not meet that. There was some corrections, but basically they waited until what I would consider the midnight hour. They did nothing until a week before the deadline, which I think is unacceptable. I mentioned that. One of the things that they've done, which to me they constantly push the envelope. Now materials that were stored on the illegal racks are now stored on a flatbed, semi-flatbed, i.e. a bunch of white conduit, have been sitting there for over a week not moving. So I guess that's supposed to get around the requirement for not storing things illegally, but I don't think it does, and I would like to have community development address that. The biggest concern that I have is the ongoing illegal activity by West Coast Sand and Gravel and RJ's, whereby they drop the material handling trailer illegally parked on the street, as was done today by West Coast Sand and Gravel on Manhattan Beach Boulevard under the 405 freeway. They were given a citation because I called on them. When the guy drops the trailer, he goes some circuitous route, comes and dumps the material out of the container on the semi-tractor. Then he has to go and pull the container off the trailer that's illegally parked on the street, go around this big circle again. Then he dumps that material, and ultimately he goes and hooks back up to the trailer. This is a safety and traffic hazard which needs to be addressed. I've requested multiple times from community development that they require a traffic flow diagram showing how these types of deliveries will be made safely without illegally parking vehicles on the street. And I want to make sure that the council's aware of that. I still got a couple of minutes. I'd like to say something about the catalytic converters. You know, back in the old days, when you stole somebody's horse, they hung you. So I think we need some stricter penalties on these thefts of catalytic converters. I realize it's difficult to prosecute, but once we do get somebody prosecuted, there should be severe penalties and a minimum $100,000 fine and 6 months in prison for anybody that buys this stolen property. Be my opinion on that. Any questions? I'm welcome to answer to any questions.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Michelle Pino, Library Manager at Lawndale Library, and I have several programming announcements for you today. We'd like to invite toddlers, 2 to 5-year-olds, to join us on our Smarty Pants Story Time, Wednesday, May 4th at 11:30, and May 26th at 10:30 a.m. We will also like to invite school-age children, 5 to 12 years old, to our Little Sprouts program with Growing Great, which empowers our youth to make healthy food choices through hands-on science and gardening education. In celebration of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, I would like to invite you to, on this Thursday, May 12th at 2:30, to join us for stories and activities, and this is suitable for all ages. Throughout the month of May, we will be offering Kids Book Club in a bag. So you pick up your book at the front desk, complete the activity, and you can redeem it for a prize. We will also have a Star Wars scavenger hunt throughout the month, and this is suitable for 2 to 12 years old. And lastly, Tuesday, May 3rd, tomorrow, at 4, I would like to invite all the teens to celebrate all things Star Wars, which is celebrated around the world, creating your own mini lightsaber. And I also would like to let you guys know the library is open to full capacity, masks are recommended, and we are looking at a lot of people are starting to come in now, so we're happy to see that. The foot traffic has increased a lot, and we're seeing a lot of teens, a lot of families and children, so I feel happy about that and wanted to let you guys know. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, are there any others wishing to address this body? Seeing none, we'll bring it up to dais for comments from the dais. Let's start with Councilman.
I just want to thank the
Pat Kearney.
young man and the young lady that spoke tonight. I will comment on the Miss Librarian. Thank you for the updates to all the special events, and I'll pass it on to my colleague to my right.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Suarez.
Thank you. Sorry. Thanks to everybody that came out. I know the RJs is an ongoing, we're monitoring it, limited with what we can report out. And then as far as the stricter penalties, some of it I think is a little out of our hand. It seems like the penalties have gotten a little bit more lax throughout the years, but I don't know that we have much jurisdiction over that. But with that, I'll pass it along.
Councilwoman Cuevas.
Thank you for coming out and speaking. Michelle, you need to do a Star Wars for adults because, or I could be 12, But thank you for putting these programs together. Are they up on the website? Yes. Okay. So I could so I could direct them to the website. Yes. All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hoffman-Gorman.
I'd just like to say thank you to both of you that came out and spoke. And like Bernadette said, the RJ's issue we are dealing with, and I appreciate your coming out and speaking to us about still concerns that you have on that issue. And Michelle, as always, I'm glad to see the library busy and being utilized. It just makes me happy. So congratulations on that.
I too want to thank everyone who came out to speak tonight. The RJs is a continuing saga, if you will, that the department and code enforcement is continuing to address. So thank you for keeping us abreast of the happenings over at RJs. At some point, we're going to get things all remedied over there. Also, Michelle, thank you for the update, for always coming to update us on the happenings at the library. And I too, I'm glad to see that traffic has increased and that folks are coming back to the library and utilizing the library, which is one of the, before the pandemic, it was one of the busiest libraries in the county, and the prettiest as well, and award-winning art and public places portion as well. That's on the library. So we're delighted to see that families are coming back to the library, and we'll keep promoting it, and they'll keep coming. Thank you once again. With that, we will close public comments and oral communications and public questions from the council. Let's continue our agenda with the consent calendar. Item F is on the consent calendar. There's 3 items on the consent. What is the pleasure of this body concerning such?
If there's no additions, subtractions, I make a motion to accept the consent calendar as written.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
So the motion's been made that we accept the consent calendar. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, with the council, please vote on the consent calendar. We're switching names. I'm Hoffman pulling.
For the consent calendar, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Madam City Clerk. Okay, next item on our agenda is item. Yeah, it is switched. It says Hoffman-Gorman. Make sure you vote accordingly, right? Right. So. Okay, let's have the staff report for item 4 under administration concerning the South Bay Workforce Investment Board appointment to represent the City of Lawndale on the business private sector representative.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and members of the audience. This item before you is an appointment of a new member. Recently, we had a vacancy. It ends June 30th, 2022. The city was noticed along with the mayor on March 21st, 2022 by the South Bay Workforce Investment Board. We've moved forward. Has submitted a name for consideration and supports the nomination for Mr. Edward James Lavia, a business investor and entrepreneur in the city of Lawndale. Mr. Lavia's background and information is attached to the staff report. The business private sector seat will be filled for the new term commencing July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2026, once the approval process is completed. The City of Lawndale's support of the applicant will be forwarded to the Inglewood Chamber of Commerce for the final approval with the investment board. Mr. Robert Chavez is here, the one-stop operations manager with the applicant, Mr. Lavia, to answer any questions. And also there's one correction on the agenda. The staff report is correct, but we needed to make clear into the record that this is to fill a new position. fill a new position, and it's for a new term. That's it.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a challenging position to fill. We've had a few businesses represent the city on this board. So anytime we can get someone that's interested in taking time out of their busy schedule, we really appreciate them representing the city on this important workforce investment board. So unless there's any questions on it, we have you, I'm prepared to accept a motion.
Is the young man here or no?
I'm not sure which one.
Mr. Levis.
Okay. Can you come up and say a few words so we can know who he is?
There he is.
Come on up here. Don't be shy.
Hello, good night. My name's Edward Joshua Leyva, for the record. I'm just here, a business entrepreneur in the South Bay area. I own a few coffee shops. I don't know if you know them. It's called Azucanela. It's a churro, the first churro in the South Bay. It's churros and coffee. And I've been in the real estate industry for about 15 years. And I look forward to helping out the youth. Disadvantaged youth. That's one of my main causes why I decided to accept this kind of task, just to help out, and maybe my coffee shop can serve as the first stop for young youth as their first stop at their professional career. So that's one of my biggest things that I'm looking forward to.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for introducing yourself.
Well, then I'll make a recommendation. We go with staff recommendation and appoint this young man to the South Bay WIB. Is it WIB? Workforce, yeah.
Okay, so the motion's been made by Mr. Pat Kearney
I'll second
and
it.
seconded by Councilwoman Suarez that we appoint this young man, that would be you, sir, to represent us on the business sector, the South Bay Workforce Investment Board, the business project sector representative, and we're glad to have him. If there's any other discussion on this item, seeing none, I'm going to ask the council to vote. We'll see how Ms. Hoffman votes.
For item number 4, the motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations. Thank you for volunteering to represent us on the board. We appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is, item 5, award of a construction contract. Yes, sir.
Mayor, members of the council, the item before you is staff recommended request for award of construction contract and the construction management services for the Redondo Beach Boulevard Street Improvement Project. In response to a call for projects back in 2015 by Metro, the city submitted a grant application to the reconstruction of the Redondo Beach Boulevard, and the project was approved, and the funding agreement was executed back in 2015. However, there was a scope that has been changed through the years, and we finally got the revised funding agreement executed by Metro back in March of 2022. Redondo Beach, as you know, is a major highway, transports approximately 65,000 commuters within the city of within South Bay cities, but has gotten deteriorated far enough that the PCI went down to 26 right now. So it is a critical infrastructure that needs improvement right away. The project limit will be from Artesia Boulevard all the way to Prairie Avenue, and will involve the edge milling. Will also involve a coal-in-place recycling, which is a process where they'll use the existing asphalt to relay the cold asphalt, and then overlay of a 2-inch rubberized asphalt and the sidewalk improvements and so on. So for the construction, 6 bids were received in January 25th, with Sequel contractor being the apparent lowest bidder. However, Sequel requests for a relief of bid due to their calculation error in their bid submittal. And the city accepted the request, and we contacted the second lowest bidder, which was Hardy and Harper, and we accepted them as the apparent responsible lowest bidder. and their bid price will be $2,111,000. For the construction management services, 10 proposals were received in January 27th, with SA Associates providing the most optimal proposal at $191,000, and to be selected as a proposal based on their experience, qualification, and their firm's experience, and also understanding of the scope of the project and also the fee schedules. Therefore, staff recommends the City Council to award the construction contract in amount of $2,111,000 to Hardin Harper Incorporated, and award the construction management services to SA Associate in amount of $191,000, and then approve construction contingency amount of $422,200 for the project to avoid any delays and facilitate timely project completion. And staff is ready for any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the staff report?
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Pat has one.
That's all. Shirley, go ahead.
You got a
I-
question? Okay.
So-
Ms. Cuevas.
Julian, the Redondo Beach, it also belongs to another city. So are we just doing our side of the north side of the street, or are we doing both sides? How
We're
does
doing
that
both
work?
sides, and the project, it also involves part in Torrance and also part in Redondo Beach Boulevard project. Initially, we were going to ask a contribution from those cities to pitch in for the cost of this project. However, this project is going to get funded by the Metro's two funding. One is the C-25 grant fund, and the other one is the Measure R fund that we got through South Bay COP. But because we got the Measure R through South Bay COP, that we're not going to ask those cities to contribute because we are getting that fund from the Measure R. So for the city, there shouldn't be any, I should say, based on the contract amount of both the construction and the construction management services, there shouldn't be any cost to the city. If there is, there will be very minimal.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that, it's not coming out of our general funds, that we're using, the Measure R and the other one.
Correct. So most of the fund will come from the fund that's given to us by Metro, which is C-25.
Okay.
Let me get that amount. So C-25 will give us about $1.2 million, and we'll get another $1 million from Metro R fund. And so we expect the project cost to be about 2.7, which will be covered by both those two funds. But our initial estimate was about $3.3 million. So we put in about $150,000, not from the general fund, but from our Prop C local return. But chances are we don't need to touch that because of the amount that we got for the C-25 and the general fund.
Thank you.
Okay, my question.
Yes, sir.
Julian, you said, well, I know Redondo and Torrance are going to chip in, correct?
We initially requested them to chip in, but because we got more fund from Metro, that we're not going to ask for that, because again, one of the funds that we got is, it's called Measure R.
Yeah.
We got that through South Bay COG.
Okay. So my second question is on the engineering firm. Their first three lowest bidders, they were incompetent, is what you're saying? And the fourth one was the one we decided on?
No, it was the construction contract that the apparent lowest bidder was Sequel, and they bid, their bid amount was $1.774 million. However, they request for relief of the submittal because of the fact that they made an error on the bid, so they withdrew.
Okay.
So because of that, we have asked the second lowest bidder, which was Hardin-Harper,
Okay.
at $2.1 million.
Okay, then on the next page, engineering firm, you went with the fourth lowest bidder. Were the first three incapable of doing the work, or?
It's not that, it's just based on their understanding of the project. So what we do is we receive the proposals, and based on the proposal, we rank them based on their experience, based on the qualification of each team members, and based on their understanding of what's needed for this particular project. So one of the items on this project is that traditionally there's a coal mill where you mill the streets and you throw that into a waste. But this particular one, you're not throwing those away, but you're recycling that, and you need to lay that right there after you mill it. So it's a special technology that needs to be applied, and a firm in this and associate has an experience overseeing those projects, and because of that, we went through this.
Okay, did we have an engineering estimate cost on how much it was going to do for the, because I see you have one on the bidders for the project, but on the engineering firm, there's no estimated engineer's cost.
Engineering cost is usually, the engineer's estimate for the construction is 2.1 million, so
Okay.
it's about the same. And the construction management is usually about 15%.
Okay.
So we were thinking that it would be around $250,000 to $300,000. That's the typical estimate that we use, not based on anything else, but based on the construction amount.
Okay. That's all I have, Robert. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, what is the pleasure of this body concerning item 5?
I'll make the motion that we accept staff's recommendation.
Okay, the motion's been made.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion's been made by Suarez that we accept the staff recommendation and seconded by Cuevas. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, the council please vote.
For item number 5, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 6, pedestrian crossing statistics.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Good to see everyone tonight. The issue tonight is to discuss the school crossing guard program and the review of pedestrian crossing statistics. Back in August 2021, when the city was considering a 2-year contract with All City Management, Council expressed a desire to what I'm going to call implement a flexible scheduling system, which is meant to address certain crossing locations that have really low pedestrian counts. During that meeting, staff suggested that we use our contractor, All City Management Services, to do an informal study of pedestrian crossings at all 10 crosswalks. So the existing contract right now does have 10 contracts. The existing contract, we modified the contract and got it all signed and executed, and that will allow the council or the staff to make decisions on reducing the crosswalks to no fewer than 7. So council will have the flexibility per the contract to reduce by 3 crossing guard locations if they desire to do so. The pedestrian crossing statistics took place from the first day of school, which is Wednesday, August 25th, for a 2-month period, which essentially was 43 school days, ending in late October. On page 2, you'll see the table of crossing statistics in inverse order or reverse order. And the 3 lowest crosswalk locations, Manhattan Beach Boulevard and Prairie, 155 total crossings, an average of 3.6 a day. Freeman Avenue and Marine Avenue was the second lowest at 168 per day, an average of 3.9 per day. And then the third lowest location was West 69th Street and Hawthorne Boulevard for 183 total crossings and a daily average of 4.3. Let me clarify something in the staff report. We do have a typo, an error. 169th Street and Hawthorne Boulevard is identified as a non-controlled intersection. It is a controlled intersection. So all 3 of those are controlled intersections. So that, once again, that count was completed in late October. If there are financial considerations that the city has a contractual authority to reduce the number of crosswalks, down to no fewer than 7, or any number short of that. We could leave it alone at 10, we can reduce by 1, we can reduce by 2, we can reduce by 3, whatever council's decision is. There's no financial outlay to the city at this, but there will be a cost savings if crosswalks are deleted or removed from the system. At the cost of about $400 per crosswalk per week. So between now and the end of the school year, if council wants to do something, the cost savings on the low end will be about $2,000 through the end of the year per crosswalk. At the higher end, probably about $2,200 to $2,300 through the end of the year. So staff recommendation is as follows. Number one, make no changes to the existing agreement with the City of Lawndale and all city management services, and continue to provide services at 10 crosswalk locations. Staff recommendation number two, eliminate the location with the fewest number of recorded crossings at the controlled intersection of Manhattan Beach Boulevard and Prairie Avenue, and continuing services at the remaining 9 locations. Recommendation number three, eliminate 2 locations with the fewest number of recorded crossings at the controlled intersections of Manhattan Beach Boulevard / Prairie Avenue and Marine Avenue / Freeman Avenue, and continuing services at 8 remaining crosswalk locations. And recommendation number 4 would be to eliminate the maximum, eliminate 3 locations with 3 fewest number of recorded crossing walk locations at the controlled intersections of Manhattan Beach Boulevard / Prairie Avenue, Marine Avenue / Freeman Avenue, and West 169th / Hawthorne Boulevard, which once again was erroneously identified as a non-controlled intersection. Those 3 intersections are all controlled intersections. So staff is here to answer any questions that council may have and to receive further direction.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any discussions on the report? Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question. Can you clarify for those people that don't understand what a control cross street is or crosswalk? It has a traffic light.
Yes.
Okay.
Controlled has traffic lights, non-controlled would be non-traffic lights, just a crosswalk.
Okay.
Very good.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I like number 4, but, you know, the school year is almost over. We have another month to go. I recommend that I recommend that we let this go until the school year, and then I recommend that we do away. I don't like taking away 169th and Hawthorne. I know it's controlled, but that's a main thoroughfare, Hawthorne. I'd like to see the first 2, Manhattan Beach and Prairie, discontinued. Freeman and Marine, because you'll have one down the way on Osage, I believe. There's another one on Marine. Let me check it out here. I saw it. Yeah, Fremona. No. Well, anyway, the second one, that one. But we have 2 streets on Manhattan Beach and Prairie. We have Manhattan Beach and Freeman. We can do away with the Manhattan Beach and Prairie because people, you know, either way, you're going to walk the same distance to school. The second one, Freeman and Marine, you have a different one down on Osage and Cross it's the same distance to school. But my biggest concern is the one on Osage on 154th. That's a crosswalk about the size of this room going across. And I'll be willing to bet $1 to a nickel that I went down there one day and the parents are included in this walk, if I'm not correct. That's why that number is so inflated, because the parents are walking their kids to school and picking them up. So I'd like to see number 2, 154th and Osage omitted next year. Those are my my observations.
Okay.
I have
Good observations.
one question. I know this is an informal count, so there wasn't a distinguisher between like just a person that walks regularly versus a student?
No, because well, generally they would count the children. They wouldn't necessarily count adults, but where you could have a discrepancy, and it's an informal study, as you mentioned. We didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on a formal study unless you folks ordered it. But if they're unsure whether somebody's crossing, and if somebody's crossing and they're unsure whether it's a student or not, they're just going to count them. Because what this is it's a free free service, and the person that's actually doing the crossing is actually doing double duty. They're crossing, then they're writing down the numbers, and they're crossing, writing down the numbers. So their attention is somewhat divided. But the numbers could be inflated for that reason, for sure, maybe 10%.
Okay, and I'm fine with Pat's suggestion.
So that, yes, ma'am.
I just have a question, and Julian, maybe you can help me out with this, because I'm going to use the wrong terminology. A couple council meetings back, we talked about some funding that had to be used specifically for, like, we talked about maybe cleaning the bus stops and things like that. Would this also be something in which we could use that type of funding for?
That was Prop A.
The C, probably.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind if I
C.
answer?
Yes.
It's
yes,
Prop
sir.
A funding we talked about, I believe, back in March. We gave a list of all things that Prop A funding would qualify for. This unfortunately does not qualify for Prop A funding because it's related to streets and sidewalks, because kids are crossing there, but it's not really related to the repair or renovation.
Thank you for knowing that, Mike. I expected my Julian to be able to.
We did discuss.
You did discuss it. Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate the answer.
Okay.
So let me clarify real quick on, in terms of who gets counted for crossing. So I cross pretty often with the aid of the crossing guard, Freeman and Manhattan Beach. Am I counted in that? Because I'm obviously not probably identified as mistaken to be a student. So I'm just wondering, you
I
said
can
everyone
answer
is
that.
counted.
Everyone's counting, but they do use discretion. If they see an adult, they understand that that adult is not going to school. And we are very clear with them that we want to get as many students as we can.
Students are the target.
And not the general public. So they probably wouldn't count every single adult. And, you know, these employees, they'll take shortcuts and stuff, you know, when they can. So, but the direction given to them was to not count adults. But what you're going to get is you're going to get maybe older teenagers or other kids that may be on spring break or a different type of break or not at school for some reason may be counted erroneously.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
I do agree with Pat, maybe let it go for this year and next year, remove two of the lowest two from the.
Or three,
The lowest.
or three. But if you read the survey, if you read your book,
Lowest two
it
are
says informal student and pedestrian count survey. You were counted, Robert.
Yeah, because I'm a
Because
pedestrian, not a.
Yeah.
Osage and 154th, that crossing guard counted everybody. If a dog crossed that street, she counted that one.
They be counted too.
Yes,
But-
but it's both student and pedestrian.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
Council,
that's
this was a informal, not a scientific survey
Yeah.
done by a professional engineer, so it was definitely informal.
Yeah.
I talked to Mike about it, we discussed it. So if the parents were walking the children, they would probably count it, but separately, hopefully they didn't include it in the survey. But it was not a scientific survey. We relied on the crossing guard folks, the staff that
Yeah.
was.
Okay. I thank you for that. I do agree also with Councilman Kearney that we should just let this stand for the rest of the school calendar and then revisit it for eliminate 2 or 3. I guess we can figure out
Yeah.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
When we get to that
And we
point.
can bring it back in probably July, before the new school year, because they started school in what?
Before the budget. We need to figure it out.
Okay, okay.
Okay, any more on this item? Okay. All right, seeing none, I'm going to thank you for your report, and we will file and receive this report, and we will revisit it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is item 7 concerning a report regarding fence permits.
Good evening, Mayor Pullen Miles and City Council and the public. Jared Chavez with the Community Development Department. The item before you tonight is a fence permit report as requested by City Council on the last council meeting. I have a little bit about the history of fences. Fencing requirements have been in our code even prior to the city being incorporated in 1959. In 1991, the City Council decided to adopt a fee for fence permits. However, no ordinance or regulations were adopted. Not until 1994, then the City Council decided to have staff draft an ordinance to actually put together regulations requiring zoning permit approval before the installation of a fence within residential areas. At that time, it was actually determined that fence permits were required and needed because it was common that residential fences were installed without meeting zoning regulations, and a lot of zoning violations were being conducted at the time. And to resolve the issue, and prevent timely and costly measures to residents and to correct violations, the city decided to require the zoning fence permit when installing fences in residential areas. In 1991, when the fee was adopted, the City Council adopted a $50 fee, and then once in 1994, once the ordinance was actually put into effect, they decided that the fee was too high, so the fee went down to $30. Then again, that stayed like that for $30 all the way to 2017. So the Community Development Department in 2017 conducted another study in-house, and it was determined that the fees were outdated and deficient at the time. And it resulted in the cities actually using the general fund monies to subsidize development. This resulted in diversion from funds from other much-needed services such as public safety. Staff then completed a study on fees and calculated an hourly rate, and they came up with $324.25 fee, which would cover staff's review of the application and the plans, as well as conducting an inspection of fence permits. Once again, another study was conducted by the Finance Department in 2020-2021, where different cities were looked in, and it was staff hired a consulting firm to actually put together an analysis on different permits, and it included a fence permit. And in this study, it was determined that instead of $324, a $420 fee was more. It was better for the. It was more adequate for the permit. So while doing this research for fence permits, I put together a list of cities in the South Bay for City Council to look at: City of Palos Verdes, City of Hermosa Beach, City of Inglewood, and City of Torrance. As you can see, most cities on the South Bay require both a planning permit and a building permit, and they have very costly fees. We, in the City of Lawndale, we only require the fence permit followed by the planning department, and it is only for $120, which covers our review time, the application and the site plan review, as well as the inspection. And sometimes we have to go out several times to make sure that the fence permit meets the code. So it's not just one inspection. Most of the time it'll be one or two inspections, because we do give them corrections as well. So as you can see from other cities, we are actually having low fees, and we're not requiring a building and safety permits as well. In conclusion, the City of Lawndale fence permits are to regulate the zoning code and prevent from future zoning violations. And the fence permit fee covers staff's time of reviewing, again, applications and completing inspections. And that concludes staff report, and it is recommended that City Council receive and file the fence permits report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. There might be some questions. I have a question.
I do have some questions, and I kind of want to go into why I brought it forward too, is because there's been, I've seen a few residents, some who've looked into getting a fence and then saw the fee and said, I don't even want to go there. And then there's also been residents who obviously have been found in violation who, come forward and say, this city doesn't require it. So I just kind of wanted to see, how we compare. And I kind of wish, I wasn't very clear too on what I wanted to see, but I was curious as to how many other cities do require permits for fences, if they're saying that some don't. Because I want to just make sure too, if someone wants to make improvements on their property, looking at our constituency and kind of where they fall in economically, if it's a burden on them, and if it's something that if they want to make an improvement, we're not hindering it for any reason. And I did want to ask a clarification regarding the permit if it's broken, and I know this is partially in the report, they can just fix whatever's broken, right? Or if it's extensive and say they want to put a new one in, they'd have to get the permit again.
Right, so there is a section on the code that talks about repairing a fence. So if it's less than 25% of that linear feet or like area, you can repair it without a permit. Also, if the fence is if they want to do a fence that is not within public view, it doesn't require a permit either. But it usually, most of the time, it's when they're going to redo the whole fence, yes, or do a new one.
Okay, and then, because I'm kind of the feeling that with, and this is just my thoughts on it, is looking at, sometimes the codes don't always get updated to what's going on currently, you know, in terms of just life in general. And so it's good to kind of look through these and see what was the purpose at the time. So I'm kind of curious, I actually would like to see more information, you know, how many people come apply for permits, has that, and it's kind of hard to gauge, but has that prompted people putting in the permit, has that prompted people to actually make improvements, or does it deter some of them? So then you start getting, you know, where the quality of the house doesn't look as good because they say, I'm not going to invest in a permit. So I guess it's just looking at, are there ways of not necessarily requiring one and giving a template where people can model, and I'm just curious to see what the rest of my colleagues think about it.
What I would like to see also is how many violations we given for illegal fencing, and then how many people, you know, have gotten permits. The 420 doesn't go up or down. It remains. Is there a waiver for seniors if they're homeowners and they need to fix their fence? Do we give them a discount to those seniors with low income, or is it just a flat 420?
It is just a flat fee, and no, we don't have any waivers for seniors. It's just basically 420 for everybody.
This is my opinion, I would like to see some type of waiver for low-income families, and we could make up what a low-income family, you know, qualifies. That would be something we could help, you know.
Mr. Moore has it.
Mr. Mayor, I can answer a lot of these questions. So we have the most extensive wall and fence permit ordinance I've ever seen in my whole career. It's almost, it's pages long. The city undertook a huge undertaking and rewrite of the ordinance in 2014. It's the most extensive and detailed criteria fence program I've ever seen. You have specific requirements. That was because of all the hundreds of zoning violations that were occurring in the city. There were hundreds. There's, I don't know, Michael Reyes is here. There's quite a bit of folks that install fences without permits. We work with them. The fee is calculated based on our time and materials. It's the lowest fee, one of the lowest fees. I'm going to point something out that Jared kind of missed in the staff report. We don't require building permits. Building permits require surveys of their properties, which we don't require, consent from adjacent property owners, and additional requirements, as well as building plans and all that. We do not require that. This is just a zoning permit. It's a $420 flat fee. Jared goes out, or staff, and they review the height of the fence consistent with the program for the fence requirements. It was based on the review of the minutes. It was a halfway point for the residents, is what council decided on, in between the $30 fee, which was subsidized substantially. If the council wants to look at subsidizing that, we can bring back and look at that. That's totally up to the council policy. I don't know, I'd have to talk to the city attorney if we're allowed to waive fees for certain segments of the population, but because we have to treat everyone fair and equal regardless. In addition, if we have to look at looking at reducing fees for low income, then we have to look at additional resources to evaluate that criteria. So we would have to bring additional staff, those additional costs, which would have to be factored into the fence permit. All those things cost, so if we look at those things, and that's fine, but then we got to look at revamping how we look at things, bringing additional staff to review, because you have to get their income, you have to get proof of their income, and then there has to be a covenant recorded on their property, and then we have to assess that and ensure that this goes, it's just like our Great Neighborhoods program. So that's something we can look at if the council wants to move forward on that and bring it back for more consideration. But as the way the fence permit was designed, this was what the council came up with in 2014 to make it as easy as possible for all the residents.
So, let me say this. Thank you for clarifying, because I had a question on the difference between the building permits and the planting fence permit. And I understand you're saying that the building permits would require things such as surveys and all that kind of stuff, which would, of course, would be more costly than not. And the fact that we don't require such a permit, I guess that's why it's a little lower. But I do have to say that I was, although I think I knew this because I was probably part of that that discussion, I was actually shocked to see that the price is $420. I was in a conversation with someone who was actually my niece. We was talking about a fence issue. Of course, this is another state. Her property is in another state. And I commented, that fence permit should cost you from about $50 to $100, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking that that's about how much a fence permit will cost you. So I was really shocked to see $420 for a fence permit. And I know you said it's because of our time, to review and cost recovery. That seems pretty expensive to me. I had no idea it was $420. I just assumed it was about $100 or so for, especially because you don't have the building permits portion. Instead, just the planning fence permit. So I was kind of surprised on that of how expensive it is, and maybe that's why people maybe don't repair their fences when they should, when it hits that threshold where you need to have a whole different permit to repair it, what have you. I'm not really sure, but maybe that might be a reason why, what have you. But just an interesting point. Let me get Suarez in there again.
I guess part of what I would like to see is, I understand the background history and about all, but it's also something where I think we have trying to figure out ways in which we can promote homeownership and upkeep of your property without too much of a financial burden. We have, I think it's over 70% rentals. So those, if you're an investor, obviously you're having an extra income, but I'm thinking for, all these costs that we have, and I understand why we do them, but if there's so many of them, it becomes where people just defer the maintenance on their properties. And then what ends up happening is they sell to an investor who can afford to make the repairs and pull the permits, and then basically does them, and not always, very well, and sometimes just don't even look into the permits anyways, and then sell it for a higher price. I'm trying to think of ways in which we can look at, coming to a point where maybe we can try and, at least for homeowners, who want to buy and invest in the home that they're living in, if they're living in it, ways that we can kind of come to a middle ground to promote, improving your house and all of that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what my intent was with bringing it forward. So I'm curious to explore it, the fees, or a way that we can do it where it's not a burden on staff and us, but something where we can work with those homeowners who may not have the funds and promoting, improvements on your home.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kearney.
So I have a question for Jared or Sean. This $400 permit, if you go out to the site and it's down, you're there 20 minutes, the thing, is this permit refundable, some of this money? Or is it a flat fee, no matter hour, 20 minutes, you're paying $420?
It covers the staff time to process the application into the city, the staff time to do the inspection, and then the staff time to close it out in the computer on all the software. So it covers all, and a lot of times, because they're residents that we're going out there several times to re-inspect to help them become compliant. And it is a flat fee. It's not a deposit fee.
So you're going after the ones that are building illegally, or?
The vast majority, we have some.
I know
folks that
weekend warriors doing them in the weekend.
Yeah, vast majority of them, I believe their fence permit violations for the zoning code is the vast majority of our.
But let's say my councilwoman to the right of me, she wants to build a fence first time. and you go out there, you get everything done, it comes out to all $370. Can we make this fee, what is not used, refundable back to the homeowner, like $50?
The council obviously could change the policy and make it a deposit base. Maybe probably better would be to reduce it and subsidize it. Should the council decide to do that, we can do something like that. I mean, it's totally up to the council. If you want to pick and choose a fee that's you would like to subsidize for the residents, that's not a problem. Just that doesn't cover, understand that it's not going to be cost recovery on the fence. And we have cost recovery in all other areas of the applications too,
Because
when we work with the residents.
if you look at your survey, Palos Verdes, money. Hermosa Beach, money. Torrance, money. Depending on what part of the city of Inglewood you're in, they have money. We're below the low wages here, what they make a year. $420 is a lot of money for an individual. So I remember, Robert, if you remember that we had those discussions way back when. We came to the conclusion, if you don't want to pay for the fence all at one, this $420, do a part of the fence, 25%, 25%, 25%, 25% over a period of time. You don't pay none of this. Remember we had that discussion? You remember that discussion we had? The rest of the council was here?
You can put it in the layaway, huh?
Yeah, the layaway plan. 25 cents percent at a time.
If the council wants to direct staff, we can bring back a reduced fee and subsidize it to half or whatever you guys think is appropriate, or 75%. It's totally up. This is a flat fee. We had recommended when Marla's, when the former finance director had done the fee study, an independent, they confirmed our number, but also said it was higher. Because remember, these numbers are all baked into our costs of factoring, but that doesn't mean the council can't pick and choose certain numbers that you're willing to subsidize something. If you want to subsidize us off the general fund, you can. It's not, we'd have to bring something back. But remember that this is a flat fee and this is our cost.
Yeah.
What it costs staff to review this application.
Pat
Well,
brought,
yes, go ahead.
Brought up something. If a fence is $370 and I have to pay $420, I'll probably do 25%. Right now, wait 3 months and do the other 25%. What if we do a percentage of the cost of the fence? If your fence is $370, you charge 10%, 15% of that cost.
The reason we wouldn't do that, because then staff has to ask the property owner how much the fences cost. And then sometimes, like we have in the building permits, they say it's $500 when we know it's $100,000. Like for the work, evaluation of the work, then staff have to request receipts, additional information, and proof. I don't know if you don't want us to get in that invasive with the residents. Because these are fence permits, so we just run them through.
Okay.
I mean, so we could bring back probably a simple fee, a little lower fee, half the cost, if that's what the council, 70. What we can do is bring back a proposal with a plethora of actions you guys can take if you are wanting to subsidize it.
Do we know what cities don't charge for fences?
We can look into that too and bring that back as well.
Because to me, the 4 cities we were given, Inglewood would be what I consider the closest to us, because the other cities are cities that have residents with money compared to our low-income families.
We can bring back that along with a recommendation for some, if the council would like to entertain some subsidization of the fencing.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would just like to make it as easy as possible for people to repair the fence, for those who want to repair the fence or put up a fence, and also for those, for it to be, so people won't use the cost as a reason to keep their fence in disrepair, or not to have a fence at all when it might be advantageous for them to have a fence. I don't want the price to be a barrier, or in some cases, an excuse for not repairing their fence if they're going to have to get a whole new permit or what have you. So with that, we'll bring it back with a plethora of options, right?
Of options of potential subsidizations and additional cities, see with, on top of this research, other cities, what they require, others.
Hoffman and Gardena, could we put on that list?
How about Lennox?
Yeah, Lenny.
How about
Look at
Lennox?
those
How
other
about
cities.
Lomita? Doesn't-
We'll look at the Hawthorne and Gardena and some other surrounding cities that are more closely aligned with Lawndale.
And I did see, when you bring those options, I looked up a few of them and they had differentiating, like if you do like a hard wall, it's, you know, you have to have a permit versus if it's like, I don't know, a chain link where it's just a common one. So those might be other things we could look at, or I don't know, because I don't know if a chain link, if you buy it with certain specifications, you know, you already know what to do. Like
Yeah, we don't allow chain link fencing in the city unless the council wants to amend the
Right.
ordinance.
We don't know, how come we have some going up?
Those might be.
Those
might be.
I'm like,
And
there's
that's
a few
always,
going up, you
that's
know.
since, sorry, was that since the 90s or since the beginning of time?
2014, I think, is when they finally, the council had decided to finally address flat work and fence permits.
Okay.
And
so-
fencing.
So ones that were there before.
Yeah, they're probably legal, what we
Okay.
call legal non-conforming, some were grandfathered in. They're allowed to keep the existing and repair the existing. They just can't expand the fences.
Okay, and I'm curious to see too, a little bit of, I'm just to see what you allow in terms, or you know, what, I can look back, never mind, I can look at that.
So staff's got direction to bring back a subsidized fee, several levels, and then costs, and then other surrounding cities.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, let's have the city manager's report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. So I'm happy to introduce our new Director of Finance and Treasury, Director of Treasurer for the City of Lawndale is our new, he started today, it's his first day on the job. He began his professional career in finance as a senior auditor in the private sector, working for various certified public accountants, like we see here at the City of Lawndale that, audit us and do an auditing. He's worked at several years in those firms. He also worked at the City of Carson for a few years, and more recently as the Director of Finance at the City of Maywood. His experience includes accounts payable, receivable, payroll, budgets, grants, general accounting, customer service, and audit reviews. He has a bachelor's degree in business administration from the University of Riverside, and he's a CPA, a certified public accountant. We're happy to have him. He has over 15 years' experience, and I'm happy to welcome him to the Lawndale team. He has a few words that maybe for the council.
Oh, you can say it, Mike.
You know what? Try to use Michael's little. Yeah.
Hi, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'm really, happy to be here, excited to keep moving the city forward, to look at the finances, and just happy to be here and get everything going.
Welcome,
you.
welcome. We met a little earlier today, so welcome.
We met
Once again.
a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Yeah, no, we met at the, one of the conferences, so it's
Yep.
nice to see you again.
Okay.
I see.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Very good, welcome. Okay, next item from the mayor and city council. Let's start with Councilmember Pat Kerr.
I just attended one soiree. It was Contract Cities Directors Meeting, where we presented the outgoing President, Mark Warnick, his certificate. I believe there was several of us there. They served Tommy's hamburger, chili burgers. Robert, you missed, it was delicious.
Oh, man.
And that was it. I pass it on. Huh?
It was about a 6-pound burger. It was huge.
I don't know. Sean ate 2 of them. Pass it on.
Good Lord. Okay, Council, I'm sorry.
So I also attended the outgoing president's last meeting for Contract Cities, as Pat mentioned, and I did attend on the 28th the South Bay Cities Council of Government Board of Directors meeting. I don't think there was anything notable for the meeting that I'm going to present, but it was via Zoom, so I didn't get a meal, but I'll pass it along.
Councilwoman Cuevas, no meal.
I did attend the Contract City Board meeting. Tommy's burgers were good, but the chili fries were even better. And then there was also empanadas, which were great. And then I would like to see if we could do some research on the lemonade program for middle school children that Lomita currently has. That would be nice to have here in Lawndale. I also attended the ribbon cutting of Curly Girl Love Beauty Supply, which is located at 4443 Redondo Beach Boulevard. For those people that put on Facebook that we did not give an address, it's 4443 Redondo Beach Boulevard. I did attend a state and local official webinar that spoke about democracy and voting rights. Very interesting. They want to make some changes, which, I'll bring that up later as we get closer to the November election. Also, the HHS We Can Do This Summit via Zoom, talking about the homeless and placement of homeless. I would like to get some more information on the teen center. Any updates on where we are on that? And one thing I wanted to ask Mike or Michael, when we do the cross guard decision, could I also request to see pedestrian and vehicle collisions on the lowest crossing area to see how many pedestrians were hit on those cross streets? And
Yes, we'll get that information.
Okay.
that will be all. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I can get that from Ricky also. Vehicles versus pedestrians.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I attended also the California Contract Cities Outgoing President event on Wednesday, the 20th, and I also attended, and it was a good burger, but I think it was 6 pounds, by the way. It was huge. And then I also attended the Curly Girl Love opening, yes, at 4443 Redondo Beach Boulevard. Incredible young owners of that establishment, and I am really excited for them to be owners of a business here in our city. And so if you know of anybody that could use those types of services, please encourage them to go and support this business. Beautiful people. I have 2 more things, and I'm going to ask Mike for help on these 2, and maybe he could step up. I want to remind the residents of the Memorial Day event coming up on the 30th and what they need to do, or what we can, what kind of assistance the residents can make as far as RSVPing. And I also would like a little blurb about the upcoming health and safety fair, both events. For our residents watching. Is there any way you could get a little bit of a detail for our residents that are listening currently?
Certainly.
Okay.
Well, residents, our Memorial Day Remembrance Ceremony is on Monday, May 30th, and that'll start at 9 a.m. We have a keynote speaker from the Air Force Base, elected officials, City Council will be there. The event will last approximately 35 to 45 minutes. You can RSVP by contacting myself at mestes@lawndalecity.org. Once again, mestes@lawndalecity.org. Or you can RSVP via telephone to myself as well, 310-973-3272. Once again, 310-973-3272. We do request that you RSVP before Monday, May 23rd, so we'll have a good count as to how many people we think that are going to be attending the event. Our Health, Safety, and Pet Fair will be on Saturday, June 18th at Jane Addams Park from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There'll be lots of exciting things going on. You know, the main gist of the event is the pet fair. You can get your dogs and cats licensed. You can get low-cost vaccinations.
And microchipping.
Yep, microchipping as well. And then that's going to be the pet fair segment, and then the health and safety health and safety segment of the event. We'll offer about 24 health and safety booths, ranging from Lawndale businesses involved in dentistry, chiropractic, whatever it may be. Once again, that event is from 12 to 2 o'clock, and we'll be doing some fun activities for the kids. We'll have the show wagon out there. We'll be doing various stage entertainment. I know that the Lawndale Mariachi group will be performing that day as well for an hour. We're still building on this event, so more updates will be available at a later time, but we are inviting everyone. Everything's free outside of the cost for food and also the cost for licensing and low-cost vaccinations for your pets.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying, using all the verbiage that I couldn't come up with.
My pleasure.
I do want to encourage residents to please come on out and utilize these two events. This is what makes Lawndale great. It's the fact that we do put on events like both of these. I'm pretty proud of the city of Lawndale and the amount of opportunity we have as residents to socialize and to do things such as the Memorial Day remembrance. As far as dog licensing and the pet vaccination, I don't know about the rest of you, but we have an increase of dogs in our community. I think that everybody during the pandemic went and got a dog. And I'm pretty much sure that they're probably not all licensed. So spread the word. Let's get up, get our vaccines done on these animals, and get some licenses on them. And maybe even get a free poop bag.
Yeah,
in the
definitely
meantime,
get a free
because
poop
we
bag,
need
yeah.
those too.
Yes, I was going to say this is a clarification too. It's June 18th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m., just 4 hours. So, but yeah, we've been working with CSD and my department to plan it, and there's a lot of good events, and we'll have a lot of things for residents to do with related to pets and to adults.
So I attended the regular meeting of the Los Angeles County Sanitation District Board of Directors meeting. I also attended the ribbon cutting and grand opening of Curly Girls Love Beauty Supplies. And I did have the location, but not the address, so thank you for the address. Right? I was just going to say right on the corner of Redondo Beach and Hawthorne. You know? But thank you for the precise GPS location. We appreciate that. Yeah, these a couple young folks. You know, I love to see young folks step out and have their business. So when I saw that Christina was the young lady's name, I forget her spouse's name. I was delighted to see that that they were embarking on this new venture, this family business. And so to have those two young folks to bring their business to the city of Lawndale is really kind of does the heart warm, because that's what we do is help to provide opportunities here in the city of Lawndale. And they went through the El Camino they have with the Small Business Association. They have like an incubator program. I forget the gentleman's name that was their like mentor or what have you. I've had dealings with him with the state assembly, so it was kind of special to see that he helped them through the process. And we've had a clinic before, inviting people that wanted to start a business through the Small Business Administration's their program or whatever. So it was kind of did the heart a little warm to not only see this young couple, but also see a gentleman who participated, actually helping them through the process or what have you. So we wish them much success. Like I said before, I usually go to this, I don't even know the name of it. There's a beauty salon, a beauty supply store in Hawthorne, right there kind of by there used to be mall in that area. So now I can go right here in Lawndale I can get my gray out, supplies and everything there, right? letting you in on a little trade secret, right? Right? So I can get it right here in Lawndale, and keep recycling the Lawndale dollars here. So, I look forward to it. So, and it's for males too.
Okay.
They have a lot of products for male grooming products. So, congratulations to them. And that's all I have. With that, we don't have a closed session tonight. So our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. Monday, May 16th, 2020 in these here chambers. It is now 8:06 and this meeting is adjourned.